The length of the fingers is your talents. Long fingers mean one thing, short fingers mean another thing, so nothing's good or bad. It's just the way that you're made. The palm shape is also your talents. And then the types of fingertips are your personality. So we're going to work our way at the bottom, starting with the base of the thumb. When you have quite a fat little pad right there at the base of the thumb, that's your sexual libido, called the Venus area through there. And a nice little fat pad means very good sexual libido, but it's also a sign of good health. It means that you're drinking enough water, and that makes that little pad kind of fat, and you're well hydrated. You've got a combo of these palm shapes. Athletic hand is quite square, and an artistic hand is quite round. And you've got top part of your palm. Now remember, this is just the palm, not the fingers. The top part of the palm is kind of square, and the bottom part is quite round. So when those are a combo, you got musician hands, but it's not totally round like an artist would have hands. So you got that little combo in the hands. Let's slide up there and do your fingertips before we start on the fingers. The fingertips, looking at the fingertips without looking at the fingernails, is what you want to look at. And we look at this only in your right hand. Your left hand is your past, your right hand is your present and the future. So there's a few things that I see in the left hand, and I'll point those out when I get around to where they are. And then your right hand, I mostly read in the right hand because that's your present and your future. Sometimes, especially if you change your health or something like that, you'll get some changes in that hand, in the right hand. Alright, your types of fingertips. You got quite pointy fingertips. As far as I can see, they're kind of in the dark, but most of them, all four of them at the top of the fingers, look kind of pointy. You like fine things, you're sensitive, diplomatic, impractical, but almost always people that have the pointy fingertips are collectors. And then you've got one round fingertip, and that's your thumb. Intuitive, quick, compassionate. Generally, people who have the round thumbs are quite concerned with social things, and they're very healing. So that's the health field. And you've got one really good one, your thumb. Now, looking at the thumb again, it's slightly short. It needs to come up to the middle of the flange on that index finger. See where I've got the marks that are little dots? That's where the finger next to it needs to come up to. It's slightly short. When that thumb is quite short, you work well with numbers. I see that a lot on the Asian people, as they have really short thumbs. And that index finger now it's a little tiny bit short too. When that's kind of short, you're a self-motivated worker. You work very well on your own. But you don't like to manage. You don't like to be the boss and the supervisor. And by the way, I've got a marking there talking about your flange. Your flange is the sections between the joints and the fingers. And you've got this on all four of your fingers. Not so much, well, you do have it on your thumb now that I look at it. The middle flanges are very long in comparison to the top and the bottom of the finger. And when that's quite long in the middle, it's the ability to be very effective in practical ways. So generally you're very practical in almost everything you do, because you've got that in all of your fingers, every single one of them. Alright, we did your index finger, self-motivated worker, it's short. Your business finger's kind of short too. When that's quite short, you're concerned with social issues. Well, it's actually kind of average. You could have your own business, but you'd have to have somebody that helped you kind of. You don't have a real great business sense, but you're very concerned with social issues like people's well-being, and I don't remember. Were you going to be a doctor? That's excellent if you're going to be a doctor or anything in the health field. The two fingers on the side, your ring finger and your little finger, are your brain fingers. The ring finger is your right brain, the little finger is your left brain. And you got a really good ring finger. Creative, imaginative, inventive. And then you've also got a line that comes up into that finger from the palm, which indicates creative achievements. And looking at your achievements on your lifeline, those are little lines that come up. You've got a whole bunch of achievement lines in your 50s, from 53 all the way to 65. And they're long achievement lines too. I don't know, maybe you're going to write a book or something. Except that your little finger isn't terribly long. That's the words and letters finger. And I don't think you like paperwork a whole lot. You're quite an active person, a hands-on person, when you have kind of a short little finger. That kind of matches your index finger. Usually when you have a short finger, well, it matches your self-motivated worker, because you've got kind of a short index finger too. It isn't a bad sign. It just means that you don't like to sit and work at paperwork all the time. Okay, here's one you really want to know, I'm sure. The marriage and the children lines. You look at the space in between the end of the heart line. It has little tassels on it. Those are flirt lines. You've got a few little tassels. They're not outstanding. And then the ring that's around the little finger. And that's the later part of your life. So the end of the heart line is the early part of your life. The ring around the little finger is your later part of your life. So I'm counting marriages. They're the lines that go horizontal from the outside of the hand going in. And I get a real faint line in your 20s, probably your early 20s, real faint. You can barely see it. I honestly think that is your last relationship you had from about 2008 to about 2012. It wasn't a good relationship. It wasn't a loving, caring one. But then it looks to me like you've got 3 marriages in your hand, starting a little bit later, well, kind of up towards 30. The first one is about 10 to 15 years long. Then your second one is quite a long line. Now that second one has a little break in it, but it overlaps, like you may be separated for some reason. Maybe he's in the service and has to go overseas, or you have to work in 2 different cities or something. That's what that little break that's got an overlap in it doesn't mean a loss of love in the marriage. It just means that you may be in 2 different places. That's a good marriage line, that second one, despite the fact that it's got a little break in the middle, but the break has an overlap, so don't worry about that. And that might be in your, I think I marked that when you was about 47. Yes, I think I did. It shows that you got a change in your fate line around 47. And that's your best marriage line. Then you've got a little tiny line at the top, which indicates you might marry maybe around 71 or 72 again, because that second marriage line, I think, dies before you do. So you may marry a little bit older. Now all I can find is one child line in your hand. The children line goes up and down in the hand, well, right where I've got children marked. And it's possible that doesn't touch on that first marriage. Well, no, if you're in the second marriage, that's when you're 47. It looks like you've got 2 real faint lines before that child line, that may be miscarriages or abortions or something like that. But I see 2 faint lines in there, but they don't look like children that will be birthed. So maybe miscarriages. But then I do get one child out of that line area, and it's a good line. That's a real good line. It's a little bit later in your life. It's not, I don't think it's in your 20s. Alright, let's look at your heart line. When that heart line, when it's got a nice deep curve in it, nice round curve in it, you've been in a little loving, caring relationship with your family or with a husband or something like that. Yours looks like you came from a fairly good family, but it's curved at the front up towards your index finger. Where it starts, it goes to the outside of your hand, but then it straightens out, and I think you're kind of tough emotionally, that you kind of hold your feelings in. I'm going to back up before I do the heart line. Let me do the money line, which runs from down where it says health line, going towards your, well, see where it says internal organs, and then the money line starts. You got a little break in that money line, which overlaps. Doesn't mean that the money quits. It means that maybe that's you're going to school or something, and a little break in the money line. Then it stays good all the way up into your retirement. Now we'll jump down to the heart line. It's nice and solid through there until you get to about your 50s, and then you got some little fussy marks in there. You don't want to see the little islands in the line. It separates the energy of the line, kind of breaks the energy up, and you're getting some little fussy lines in that heart line going towards the outside of the hand. But I'll tell you what that is in a minute, because you got some problems in the spine. And then it's kind of straight, so you're kind of tough emotionally. I'll bet you hold your feelings in. Might not hurt you get a little bit of counseling, especially if you've had that relationship line that might have caused you some problems. Let's jump over there where it says sixth sense. You want to see a nice little fat pad right under that index finger, and yours is fairly good. Listen to your promptings, that's your intuition. If you've got a problem that you can't solve, all you do is just clear your mind. Just don't think about anything. Don't think about the problem. And come back to the problem in about 15 minutes, and voila, it will be solved. That's your intuition kicking in. Alright, let's jump down to your head and spine line. Believe it or not, this headline is an indication of your intellectual capacity, but it's also a sign of your spine and how healthy your spine is. Now, when that line goes right straight across your head, you're very smart. You've got a very smart line. But then your fingers show that you're very smart too. But anytime you get those little islands in that line, those vertebrae are twisted out of place, turn that spine chart over and read what it says about the vertebrae, and your vertebrae are all messed up. Well, wherever I've got red circles on the spine chart, which is right at the very top, and that when that's out of place, you look over, all the nerves come off the spine, they end up in your hands and your feet. And those top two, 1C and 2C, the area they go to is the pituitary, the bones of the face, the brain, middle ear, the eyes, the auditory nerves, the sinuses. And then you go over to where the effects are, and you can see where it says depression. When you've got a line in that headline that tips down like yours does in the left hand, your past hand, that generally is depression. But when I look at that, the end of that headline in your right hand, it looks like it's kind of corrected. Now, I don't know if you corrected the depression, or it's possible you're taking some antidepressant medication or pills or something. Sometimes if you work out and you do a lot of, you get quite healthy when you're got a lot of oxygen going up into your brain. It'll get rid of that depression. But if that's twisted out of place, it kind of restricts your breathing, and you're not getting enough oxygen up in that brain. So pay attention to the back side of that spine chart. The middle part of that spine in your thoracic area, read over there. I think that's what's causing your heart problems in your 50s. Let's see, I better circle that where the heart is. That's that 2T. That's right at the base of your neck, right about where your dowager's hump is. Get that straightened up. Quit putting stress on the heart. And then when you're out of place in the top part of your spine, it's going to turn you out of place in the lower spine. And boy, you're out in that lower spine. Big time, right there in your top part. I think your hips turned out a little bit. That's going to turn you out right at that 3L. If indeed I did see miscarriages in you, that's where your female organs are. So you want to straighten that up before you get pregnant. And then you straighten up that 1C and 2C, and that gets rid of your depression. See, some of your vertebrae are turned out of place one way at the top, and then they're turned the opposite way in the bottom of your spine, because some of the islands are on the top of the line and some are on the bottom of the line. And then that depression line will absolutely disappear when you get that spine straightened up. That line that tips down on the bottom where I've got depression written. Seen it happen. Where there's a whole lot of lines coming in from the side of your palm. Those are travel lines. You got one really good one where I've marked good. Kind of in your early life. It's a nice dark line. And it's a good travel line. A good long travel line. Alright, let's jump over now to your lifeline. That lifeline has to do with your lungs and your breathing. In your left hand, when you've got little lines that run parallel to that lifeline, that's your guardian angel lines. And they'll come and they'll run over and they'll touch on a line that goes right straight across. I have to find 3 lines that converge. And that's the age you were when somebody died and they become a guardian angel to you. So I've got one that goes clear around your thumb, which is before you were born. Your guardian angels can be your relatives, grandmas, grandpas, aunties, uncles, friends, kids you know in school. I got one before you was born. Then I've got one that died at age 12, one at 13, and a really good one at 16. I got a little slight break in that lifeline at age 24. Might be an accident or operation or something, so be a little bit careful around 24. That lifeline has to do with your lungs and your breathing. So when you get a little break in that, sometimes it means that you'll have an operation where you have to have anesthesia, and it duplicates that breathing in your body. Okay, jump up there. The achievement lines come up off the lifeline, and your achievement lines are good at age 15, 24. Anything I've circled is extraordinary. 26, 33, 40 and a half. 47, 53 and a half, 54, and then really good in your 50s, 53, 55, 56, 58, 60's not so great, but it still isn't bad, and then 65 is a really good achievement line. So in your later life, you got some excellent achievement lines. Alright, let's move to that fate line. The fate line has to do with your career and your lifestyle, and every time that breaks and moves over, it's a change either in your lifestyle or in your career. Now that fate line travels up to the middle birdie finger, and then when it comes down at the base of the palm, it indicates whether you're sociable or private. Yours kind of tips off to the side, which means kind of slightly sociable. If you were really a private person, you didn't like people being around you all the time, that'd come right straight down your hand. But yours slides off to the side just a little bit, not a whole lot. Alright, like I say, the overlap break lines mean changes in career or lifestyle. So at age 30 I see changes, and that gets 2 lines. Maybe just 2 jobs or extra responsibility. Oh, see, that might be a child, or that might be, you might have to work and run a household also. Age 30 it changes back to 1 line. Just a job or something like that. You only got 1 responsibility going on. Another change at age 47, and I've put maybe a second marriage, but I'm just kind of guessing that it might be just a change in your career. And then it stays the same all the way up to age 70. Then you've got a big change that goes on up to age 86, and I've got up there you'll live to, I'm sorry, that should be 82. I'm going to cross that 86 off and mark 82 on that. And that's how far I've got you living is to 82. Your fingers are kind of apart, means you're very independent. You've got a nice little luck sign right there in your fate line from age 21 to 23. Just good things just seem to happen to you between that age. When you turn that page over, there's a chart that shows hand reflexology, and I've marked in red where you can massage it in between those two fingers, in between the middle finger and the ring finger, where it says eustachian tube. That's where the nerves end that cause the depression. Sometimes if you get migraine headaches or something, you can hold that little web right there between the fingers and massage those little areas where I've marked on that. Now, I've attached a cancer chart to your thing. If that little island that's kind of on your fate line is a cancer mark, cancer marks will show with islands. Where I've said that splits and moves apart, it's a possibility that that's a cancer marking. But just to be safe, get on your cancer diet, which is 10 fruits and vegetables a day. It's not that hard. Cut out the milk, the flour, and the sugar. And you eat the foods that are high in color. Your broccoli foods, your kiwi fruit, your dark colored berries are major they're antioxidants, major anti-cancer foods. Especially the dark berries like blueberries and huckleberries, something like that, and tomatoes. Tomatoes are an excellent food to beat cancer. This is Kat Anders. Good luck.